Mm-hmm. Okay.
Good. I'd like to call the meeting to order and start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First thing up, we have the approval of the agenda, and we got a couple additions. Chris just added them under the commissioners. Item C, interlocal agreement for Troy and Candleton. That has to do with the PSAP. Okay, Steve Hauser's here. And the TIF 3 bond advance, which I think we've already approved that. And that would be item D. And item E needs to be transfer for the Highway Department concerning the Community Crossings grant. Anything else we need to add? With that stated, I take a motion to approve the agenda as modified.
I'll make a motion.
I'm going to second it. All those in favor?
Aye.
2-0. First thing is public comment, and we have Ann Island LLC here.
So Ann Island is here to go ahead and introduce, as a lot of people know, the commissioners and council have been looking at some payroll software, as currently we are doing paper pencil time cards. So we're looking at options to be more efficient and accurate within our payroll system. So he is going to present their software and also introduce a software called Smart City. So Anjan is here to do that.
Okay. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, guys. So for you guys have probably seen a little bit about the I think sheet that was there.
You need to speak louder because we don't have
Okay.
a microphone.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess for the first one would be for the time management piece, which is to of course track time. So on this one of the first things that we saw was that Kelly Wilgus has to use I think paper sheet that is then I think manually tracked from each department, and so that of course takes time every week, probably I don't know, maybe over what it could be.
Payroll
20
takes
hours,
about
yeah.
5 days right now.
5 days, yeah. And so basically our system is of course on the cloud. And so I think one of the first steps we kind of saw was to help make that main sheet into the cloud system, so that there's no paper basically. So every user here in the county would then have their own kind of access login to the system, which would be based off of the actual role. So the main role would be by the main auditor's office would have all the access. And then every other user would just have access just to basically put in time. And so that time could be put in, whether it be through the app or it could be through a system, like I think we spoke before about biometric possibly, or it could be a tablet check-in based off of geo-coordinates. So there's of course different ways to then track time. And then the other one would be to block off times off for like holidays, or it could be maybe it could be days off. So they could actually request days off through the app itself. And then the other one would be mainly for the reports. So basically reports could then be generated through the system without having to manually create them. And I think most importantly, we can also generate a file that can be imported into Lao to then help save time there without having to manually do that. So that's kind of a brief overview about that. And so
I've got questions.
yes, and
Okay, so each department, the way we discussed this before, would have the ability to override a time and correct, because sometimes they've got them, some of the people are out in the evenings actually working, and that would have to be modified. So that ability's there.
yes.
And then numerous different ways they would clock in, clock out, and do all those, whatever we determined was appropriate. The highway's gonna be different because of the nature of what they do. The the sheriff's department again is another one. So each one's a
Yep.
little different in what their needs is, but that's not a problem. And then we have like vacation days, we have, we're getting ready to eliminate, I think, sick days and just turn them into personal days.
And also the compensatory, like say if comp off or something like that if we need, that's
Right,
also there.
because we do have comp in some cases.
That would be
handles-
generated
Yeah.
into this also.
Okay.
And you can also have like whatever your customizable, time frame for based on their eligibility, this many hours they can take off or something like that. That can be customizable for individual person, so that's all, there. And then like you said about every department, every person, based on how do you want them to record their time, So some people, they can just have a timesheet and they can just enter their time, and then it can be available for their supervisor immediately, and then they can just go and verify, and then they approve it. It's a workflow process. So as soon as it's locked by the supervisor, then that goes to the payroll. So then the payroll, system, you can generate the file, and then whatever locked, times, and then that time will be into the, CSV file or a flat file, which can be imported into, the LAO system.
So in other words, once this is accumulated by the department, it's sent to Chris,
Mhm.
where her office reviews it, and then it could be just uploaded into the LAO
Upload, yes.
system to generate the checks and make the
Mhm.
payments, track
Yep.
all the payroll deductions and that.
And then I think Anjan also spoke with the LAO people, and then they said they are, they can work with us in terms of interfacing the, data connection.
Yeah, and so there can be multiple ways. One is either we could put the file onto the county server, wherever LAO, is.
They can access, they can grab that
And it can
file.
go there, or it could be through the FTP server that then can talk into LAO and then go that way. Or then it could just be a quick download and then upload into LAO based off of their discussion too. That could work too.
Okay.
So the department heads would be in charge of getting it to Chris,
Mhm.
right?
Like it's more or
So-
less like a workflow. So what'll happen is as soon as the department head, let's say you have a cutoff time or something like that, they approve, and then that goes and notifies, the, payroll department, and then they can say, okay, everyone is locked, and then they can generate the file, and then they can upload.
Yeah, so basically the actual process shouldn't necessarily change because everything will just be digital and, instead of then saying, here's a paper file to then go here. So instead of, it's just all on the system.
Digital.
And then you can actually print out reports too, so that if then paper copies need to be saved, whatever reason, you also have that as
So you
a.
can also print out and then keep it, on
So
the file.
let's say, for instance, somebody uploads something that is completely incorrect. How do we back it out? Is that a real complicated process, or how do?
No, so for you, are you saying after approval or after?
Yeah, we've already went through the whole process and approved it, and then somebody goes, uh-oh, I
So you mean
mistakenly did
after you also upload into?
that.
and
We've done the complete thing and generated the checks already.
And found a mistake.
Yeah.
And then, so do you want, so you found the mistake, and then you want to correct the,
We haven't electronically deposited the checks yet. What kind of a procedure is it to pull that back out?
I don't know about in the LAO system, do you have any kind of procedure in the LAO system?
No, right now, because we're doing paper checks.
So the thing is, if you.
We manually enter right now.
Yeah.
I think
If-
what he's saying, I'm not meaning to interrupt, but once it goes to LAO, once we've uploaded to LAO, we're gonna have to work with LAO. I don't think there's
Back it
anything.
back out?
Yeah, I don't think there's anything, but I think all the way up to where we've uploaded, before we've uploaded to LAO, we in the auditor's office can make any changes. Once the department head has submitted to the auditor's office, they're locked out. So any changes will have to be made on the auditors, and so they would have to come over and say, well, Kelly, my voucher's wrong, I need,
We can
on
add,
that.
customizing, area. So for example, it's locked out on the department head, and then it comes to the payroll, and then the payroll, even you processed it,
there are two ways to look at it. If Lao has got a reversal way, then we can also reverse our, then we give a reversal thing, then automatically, then it becomes open for the department heads to correct it, and then we can send it back. If Lao, you had to just only do it in the Lao side, then what we can do is you can pay, you can adjust whatever the payroll adjustment, you can do it, but then for your notes, in notes purposes, you could have on the audit side, auditor's office, you can have some kind of a, way to correct it, then you have a corrected, column. So you will say, this many hours, it's actually recorded, but, say 40 hours or something, 35 hours, instead of 35 hours, it's 33 hours or something like that. Then you say that's corrected, then that can be reverse notified to the person too. That means it's all in sync, we could do that.
That what I'm familiar with a little bit, a lot of payroll will allow you to go in and delete that process, and what it does, it just reverses it. Then you change the area that's incorrect, and then you send it again.
We can do that.
Something where
That's
it
very
just-
simple for us.
Okay.
But our thing is, what I'm saying is, if we don't have a process in law,
And allow to do it.
then,
It would
yeah.
have to be something in
Yeah,
conjunction
so
with
simple,
that.
so at least you should have somewhere to record this information. That's what we're saying. At the same time, like I said, this particular thing is completely customizable, so any kind of, that's why the implementation takes time, and then, getting it done. Once it's done, then, you have the system, then it's pretty much.
Is it something that you can modify? In other words, let's say we wanted to add 2 sick days. Does it have like a, struggling for the word, but like a,
Configurable list?
yes.
Yes.
Where we can come in and say, we want to change this from 30 to 32, or to 36, or to something to that nature that.
Yeah, we have something called an effective date, so you can have, let's say you are changing from this day onwards, so the previous one, the record will still stay as
As is, but then. the
whatever
new
it
one-
is, so that you have the historical data.
Right.
Is there, so.
Because I'm just thinking that sometimes you may change, something,
Yeah.
within the payroll system. As we're going through this handbook, I think of the different things.
Well,
that
it's
we're
just
looking
like with, putting the penny on, like a while
Mhm.
ago, that would help a lot there.
Yeah. The one thing is that, meeting with Ann Island, I wanted to point out that, they basically have said they could customize whatever we want. So if we wanted to, depending what direction, the commissioners and council decide to go, they could digitize the voucher, because that's very important for State Board of Accounts. We have to have that voucher, whether it be, saved on the cloud, and when the auditor's here, they say they need these payroll vouchers, we print them out. Necessarily where we wouldn't have to print out every department voucher, but they're saved on the cloud, and then when the auditor's here, they give us the list of what vouchers they need. We have to have that voucher. They have told us that they can basically duplicate that, customize and make that voucher. The other thing that they pointed out to me, and correct me if I'm wrong in the meeting, that they can basically customize however we choose to track the time. If you guys, not we, you guys choose to just digitize the time card to where each employee types in their hours and it goes to their department head for approval, then once approved to us, or if you wanted to do some type of time clock, biometric, however it is, they can customize to it.
Yep.
The-
So for example, if you want again, it's a sensitive thing. Let's say if you want to clock, okay, this person is working in this area, and then they are reaching at this spot, at this time, and then you want to clock in and clock out from that time. If you want to implement that, that's available. But if you don't want that, for everyone, you want to have a generic thing, like a timesheet, and then they say, okay, this morning I came, I worked, I came here this time, I checked out this time, and then this is the hours I worked. And then that can, you can record that kind of a thing, and then that can go to the, department head. So whichever way you want. Or you can have a biometric or something like that, then, that can be recorded. Of course, the devices are not included, we may have to buy, but those are
Do they
the,
have to be approved by the State Board of Accounts?
Yes.
What's the process for that?
It's quite a process, so.
that's a drawback.
We're looking at a timely thing. I mean, I know that they have to go through steps to be State Board of Accounts for us to use them. I don't necessarily, you're kind of working on their thing. They'd have to present they'd have to present to the State Board of Accounts to get State Board of Accounts approved.
That's a hurdle. That's who comes down and audits the county records. It's from Indianapolis, and that's where they come down to. So I don't know what the procedure is there.
I know that Anjan, we had talked about that. They have to be State Board of Accounts, and he had asked what it takes. Basically, you have to present to them, and that's kind of where basically they need to get in contact with the State Board of Accounts, and whether it's in person or sending all their presentation electronically. But yes, they do have to be State Board of Accounts.
So tell me after it's implemented, what's the monthly charge or per employee charge, or how did you?
There's no monthly charge, so that's what another thing which we are talking about. Is after implementation, this is, a flat fee of yearly cost. And it can be paid monthly or whatever it is. It's like $6,000 a year, annually. And that's
for
including
everything,
cloud
right?
fees, everything. And then another thing, what we also wanted to talk is, we talked about, a smart county initiative, in terms of emergency communication, or maybe, every department digitalizing, processes, or and communication with the public in terms of, instead of having the notice board, and then people coming here, and then they can also review it. Every county resident will have their own individual account, and then they can see digitally whether it's a veterans, department or any one. They'll be in a position to communicate it better, and then the people will be in a position to access from anywhere. And then all this thing is available, including, a complete three-way secured, platform. So that means it's not just in the email ID, when you sign in, it's going to be just your user ID and password. This one also have a unique ID, the whole system. So it's got a three-way. In addition to that, if you want further security for the county to work, we also have a multi-factor authentication. So that means every time whenever someone is logging in, and then we can have their mobile number attached to that thing. So whenever they log into the system, then it sends an, text message to authenticate a code, and then they had to put their code besides the user ID, unique ID, password. Then they can also have their, so we have that much security in the system. So, if something has to be hacked, and then someone has to give their phone and everything to someone. So that's how the system is fully, and then of course, the whole thing is, our system is used by even, private companies, and then, corporate companies, they're all pretty much, using it, and then efficiently, and then all these things are based on standard best practices, so, of course, these are all developed based on our 35+ years of experience and providing solutions to many different companies. So,
What was the initial cost for the setup of the time and attendance?
18,000.
That's what I thought. Initial setup was gonna be 18. But I know you guys had mentioned too, introducing the smart county and everything that.
So sorry about it. The thing is, so smart county, if we go through it, we have listed lots of different, modules and things which is available. So let's say if we go and then implement certain, digitalizing certain process procedures in a county to make it more efficient. So we started doing it. So then what will happen is the first time the implementation, again, like this time management, the implementation cost will be a separate one. But then afterwards, the smart county overall package, it's not going to increase. So for example, this one is 6,000 we are saying annually. Let's say if we implement the whole, everything, whatever in the system available, we implement even the whole thing, it may not cross. It's not like, keep adding 6,000, 4,000, something like that. overall, maybe maximum, it may go up to 20,000 or something like that. If you implement everything in the system, that's an annual maintenance cost. So that's the kind of thing which we are talking about, so that will be an advantage in terms of, and then you don't have to have worried about the backup of the data, and then, any upgrades and other things, system automatically, we keep updating and upgrading the system, so, everything is taken care, including your, for example, you can even implement your budget management, and then, so anything, you can have your budget planned, and then you can implement it, and then by department, against that budget, if anything is spent, then you'll be in a position to track those things. You can say how much is, budgeted versus spent, so any kind of variances, you'll be in a position to track, and then see how those, each department is performing by each, specific cost, unit, those kind of things you will be in a position to track. So those kind of features are available. Again, performance appraisal, maybe if you want to track and then make it more, see if anyone is working hard, then reward them, or if they're not. If you want to implement that module, that's also available. So there are so many different, again, it's all a corporate style, but, whichever you want to implement in the county, you can do it. But again, whichever you don't want, you don't have to implement, so.
Interesting. Do you know who at the State Board of Accounts you'd have to,
I could reach out to Ricky,
just ask them
and
what's
get
involved
them in
with
contact,
it?
yeah.
Just,
Because that'll be quite a hurdle there you have to go through with the State Board of Accounts, correct?
we don't know, but we suspect, there's nothing they do fast.
No.
So it's just the way they are.
But again, I thought maybe if we are running a payroll in this one, then maybe that's a, problem, but we are not running a payroll here. This data is collected, Excel sheet is more, leak-proof than this one, because there's no real audit. You cannot even audit, thing. So you have an Excel sheet, and then someone is scribbling, and then you are collecting, and then you are putting it in the law system. Whereas this one, you have digital records, and then whoever is changing the data, you have all those information available. So you'll be in a position to say, okay, this particular thing was entered by this person at this time, and then this was changed at, by this guy. So no one can say, hey, I didn't change it. You have all those information. So you have a complete track record, so that I think this is much better than whatever the paper system,
Absolutely.
it's there. Plus on top of it, I can say this is much better system than, many of the different systems, because we have developed this one based on, we have worked on companies where the SOX compliance is very, very strict and, stringent. So we have put our, solutions to those kind of companies. So, so for us to pass through or get through this one with the, the people, if they have, if we get the right person, we can go and then present it, and we'll try to push it, so.
Tell them, Chris, when you talk to them, they're just collecting the data. Then Lau will do all the calculations.
Yeah, so we are not doing
storage of the
anything.
payroll
So
into it.
Chris is saying that Kelly works about a week on payroll.
5 days, yeah.
So what are we looking at with this?
So
Hour.
nothing,
Nothing,
Yeah.
nothing.
Yeah,
If
it's
you
gonna
get
be-
each department and each
Yeah.
employee putting it in, and they, all they'll have to do is look at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the main,
It
I think the
just-
main problem now is like, I think Kelly has to basically put that in herself,
Mhm.
which takes the time, whereas this, it'll just be collected.
It'll do it itself.
and
Kelly,
calculated.
I will tell you this, Kelly used to check like all of the time cards.
Mm-hmm.
She no longer does that, because I feel that the department heads are filling that voucher out. That's what we're looking at.
Now,
The
can you-
time and attendant, or the time off is what takes
Yeah.
Yeah.
a
figured
lot of
that.
time.
Now, can you put rules in there, for instance, that's, if somebody mistakenly types in 10 instead of 8 or something like this?
Yeah,
that-
sure.
It'll say stop.
Stop.
Can't
So
do
for
it.
example,
Can be,
you
yeah.
have like a 35-hour limit or something like that for, not to exceed 35 hours or something like that.
Right.
Then system will stop. You cannot just keep adding and then,
Right.
and then unless someone override that thing and then
Right.
allow them to.
That's where the
yeah.
department head, in the event it
Yeah.
needed someone to do something, for instance, highway department, if it snows, they work a
Mhm.
lot of hours.
Yeah.
So it'll have to be, but it's, okay. Yeah. Okay.
Those kind of locks will be there, so. Like you said, exactly, this is, the data, we are just collecting the data and then providing it to, so the other thing could be, let's say maybe we could do it in 2 stages. The first stage would be, they don't have to approve anything because you collect the data and then you have the data and then you are going to enter into law. And then, or you can upload the data file. So then it's just a 2 separate system, so there is no, the process. Then in the meantime, if you want to get it approved, then automatically the system can upload to the the other system. So we
The,
could go through two-step
yeah.
process.
That'll be a call from them, though.
Yeah.
They generally will say yay or nay. So, and sometimes we don't really understand why. They just tell us that. So we'll have to let Chris get a hold of them and see what
See
the
what their
first
process
response
is.
Yeah, see what they tell us.
Yeah, we are ready to go and then explain to them, whatever it's needed.
Sure.
Yeah.
We'll see what the next step
I'll
is.
move forward and get in contact with them on what the next step is.
So it doesn't matter how many employees we got, 1 or 1,000?
Yeah, because it's, the implementation is like, say, once we say,
Yeah.
okay, this is the process, and then that's what it takes time. We are not calculating whether, because it's all, the thing is standard infrastructure cost, that's what we are collecting. And then, so it's not going to, okay, you have 2,000 employees, then it's going to be expensive, So maybe a little bit change, but it's not drastic, so there won't be any big
I
change.
don't think we're gonna be in any big hiring.
Yeah, so
mode, so.
even if you, let's say, you have 100 or 200 now, and then you're adding it another 300 or something like that, even doubling it, it's not going to affect anything,
Okay.
the pricing.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank
Go
you.
ahead.
Thank you.
Any other public comments? Seeing none, let's move on. The minutes from 4/3/23. Any changes, modifications?
No,
Hearing none, I'd take a motion to approve.
I make a motion.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Next item up is Chris and your list of claims and payroll.
All right, so as far as accounts payable, we've got our 410 payroll in the amount of $161,410 even. Insurance claims, $20,225.75. We've got advanced claims of $4,240.34.
And I'm good to take all of them together unless you got a
Yeah.
question. So we have a motion to approve the payroll and the insurance claim and the advance claims.
No, second motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
2-0. Community Corrections Grant.
Hello, my name is Tracy Fisher. I'm Director of Community Corrections, and I'm here this evening to request your approval for the 2024 grants for Community Corrections and our Substance Abuse Court programs and the budgets. I had sent them by email to everyone if you have any questions or had a chance to review them. I did bring the letter for that I do need signed. We have to send the commissioner's approval and our board approval. Our board met on Monday, and the board approved it on Monday, the advisory board. And then we'll have to send approval from the commissioners, and it's due next week, so.
We're on a typewriter.
Something you do every year?
Yes, this is the same programs that we do every year. Nothing has changed with the programs. The budgets are, we anticipated some salary increase for staff, and that is we will have to adjust that at the, hopefully before the beginning of the year next year. So,
Now, I've had some discussions with, it seems like everybody except you. We have some opioid money, and if possible, there's been some discussions about, through your group, the drug court, the prosecutor, working out something where if they have a candidate that would fit a certain mold, that would take an active full-time job, counseling, drug testing, and this, we could potentially return them as a productive citizen rather than sending them to jail. And everyone seemed to be receptive, and I think you're gonna play a part in this also, so.
Okay.
Just bear that in mind, because I think it would be a good use of those resources we're receiving, and hopefully help some of our manufacturers potentially,
Yes.
and give another person a chance to actually,
Improve
be-
their life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So,
okay, yeah, keep me
Keep that in mind.
informed, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Becky's already signed this, so I think there's a pretty good chance she's gonna vote to approve
She
it.
approves
so
it.
Need a motion to approve.
I make a motion.
I'll second
Because it's
it.
a good thing.
All those, yes.
Thank you.
And if you just want to save that letter, and once you get send that over with the 2024 paperwork, make
Sure,
a copy.
yep, I will
So
send it
email me
out.
Need a copy of that,
Yeah,
Tom.
she can email me a copy
Yeah,
of it.
I'll send it all over to you.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
The next one up is an ordinance C-2 for 23.
This is the ordinance that we talked about at the third meeting. Andrew Foster, our attorney, put this together. This is to implement the inventory and capital assets requirement for each department to designate a suitor to keep track of their inventory. We put a threshold of anything 250 and above, which would catch all of our PCs and monitors together. So this is basically just set, requiring our departments to oversee this.
And data pit stop is coming down when? For our
The
training?
25th or the 27th, I think it's the 25th, thank you, yeah, April 25th, they're gonna do a training here with all of the suitors. I think it's just a great thing, rather than having multiple spreadsheets and copies. This is basically all gonna be cloud-based again. That's one thing that I did find when doing the AFR this year, was that there were several different copies, out there, and trying to pinpoint which is the right one. This will definitely be a better streamlined system, and it's not gonna cost us any more. So,
In this system, we record all of our roads too, correct?
correct.
Steve, do you have records of that? Because at some point, we're gonna have set a value on all those different roads that the county
Yeah, I've got it.
owns.
Well, you know he's got records.
I know he's got records of
That's on our asset management plan. and we-
that you've already got on the other software.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that'll be an easy upload to
Yeah.
Data Pit Stop too.
Most
So
of the
we'll have
stuff,
it,
yeah,
yeah,
okay.
all together in one place.
Can we do
You
the
ready?
property off in Club Road?
Let's pass this ordinance,
Okay.
and then we never did add that, did we?
No.
I need a motion to pass this ordinance number 2023-C-2.
I make a motion to pass it.
I'll second it. All those in favor? Aye.
All right.
And then, let's do that down there with the transfer
Okay.
when we get there. Animal shelter update is the next
Okay.
item.
All right. The security door is done. The drywall is done all around it. Molly, you like it? Good. I did talk to the guttering contractor before I came here today, this evening. And he said that he's been working on roofs from the storm, and he's gonna try to get there the end of this week. I explained to him that he is the holdup right now, because after him, the power washers, then the painters, and then he comes back and puts the guttering up. And he told me he would be there by the end of this week. If he's not, I know where he lives, and we'll get the guttering took down. but he said he'd be there, so I'm sure. And I'm going to call the, it slipped my mind from the last meeting on the roof. I'm going to call them tomorrow and have them to come back up. And you said there was 2 spots that were still leaking, but maybe we can kind of talk to them like before and let them spray the whole roof again. And there is, we need to, I guess, advertise for the wiring in of the exit fire lights. We need to advertise that because all of the exit lights, according to state code, have to be wired in on a separate breaker. And,
So let's just get a count and put it out for bids.
yeah, put that out for bids. And then I'm supposed to have a bid in by the end of the week for the work in the kennel area in the back. And he told me he'd get me that by the end of the week because he's going to be on vacation next week down in those mountains. There was something else. Oh, Molly has had, I guess in the last couple of days, people think the shelter's open, so here they come, they're gonna drop some pups off. Nobody there, nobody knows who done it, so now she's got pups. My suggestion there is to buy a camera system, which I actually bought a system 3 weeks ago for our house and our farm. They're very inexpensive, $200. You get 4 cameras. You can have it on a little monitor TV inside, or there's an app that you can download on your phone to watch it. And I would like to go ahead and get one of those purchased. And they're not a whole lot to put up. I mean, you know, we could point it in several different directions. They go a fairly long way. But I think that might stop some of this. If I could, you know, get,
I think that's worthwhile.
yeah,
should
it
be-
could go right up on the corner of the building. Like I say, we have 4, there'll be 4 cameras.
The only trick is here, we're waiting to power wash it.
Yeah.
We want to paint it. Do we want to include that with, like the electrical for the exit signs?
We could,
And get
we
the
could.
same contractor just to do it all when he's there?
Yeah, we could do
Cut
that.
some of
That's a good.
So-
And,
But I think that's a good idea, because there's going
Yeah.
to be things go on.
and it, you know, it's for Molly's safety too.
Sure.
May I
And-
add something to that?
Yes.
Again, I had talked to the renter last year, and then I talked to 2 weeks ago to the person that actually comes and goes, and I think they would be very interested in actually coordinating paying also.
You know, there are only 2, like I said, it's not the top of the line, but pictures don't lie.
Well, if they have an interest, maybe they'd split it with us and put
Yeah.
a system in and give
Well,
access to.
That's why I said I suggest.
Mhm.
You know, they can have, if it's cloud-based, then they can have access to it to look,
Yeah.
just like we
Whenever
do.
they told me there was millions of dollars worth of inventory out
There is.
they are very much interested.
Mhm.
But they were, but you know how that guy's out there waiting for something from you, so I assume you can get a hold of, what's his name?
Randy Stroop.
Randy Stroop, and say, okay, this is what we're going to do. And he may say, you know, I'll pay for this, and you can upgrade even,
Mhm.
so you can upgrade.
You know, this is, like I said, this is a simple system because I'm a simple person and I wanted something simple. But it does the job.
And Greg also gave me this was 2 years ago, when I was talking about already getting that. And at the time, he said, I got it written down, he gave me a quote that he would, you know, be interested to do it for X amount, but
Now, I mean, there's a 16-year-old kid up the road gonna hook mine up. So, I mean, they're not that hard to hook up.
no, I'm
Yeah.
just saying that if you implement it with the next door neighbor, then it's just
Mhm.
more wiring.
Right, and he may pay for it all. You know, you never can tell. I'll see if I can get hold of Randy Stroop and see what he says about it. You know, what he'll be willing to help with.
Because, like I said, that they realize that security, you know, cost of living, everything going up, it's hard to replace something if you don't have,
Mm-hmm,
and when you have it, you're gonna find out more information.
mm-hmm.
So you-
And
you
this
move
is-
forward with that, right, Ron?
this is gonna help Molly too with what has happened this week with those pups. So, we can try to, help with that. So, the bid on that with the electrical should say to hook up a camera system
Find out,
also.
find out from him where he's at on it.
Yeah.
And then we can put together an RFP
Yeah, okay.
and get a pricing.
And, Chris, do you know how many, RFPs has come in on, bids has come in for the paints?
One.
One?
You
Should we
got a
go?
copy of that too, didn't you?
Huh?
You got a copy, they emailed you on that too, didn't they?
That was She Paints?
Mhm.
Yep. Do you
So I
wanna
got-
go ahead and award that?
Did I miss that? Was it in the packet?
No,
or
I
did it go-
didn't.
It
No.
wasn't in our packet, no, but it's been
No.
what, 2 weeks, 4 weeks
She emailed
since?
you and I both, and
Yeah.
I just thought
She
she
met
was
with
just
Molly.
copying me. I
What,
didn't put it
2 or
on
3
the
weeks
agenda,
ago?
I didn't really.
I mean, it's been, the bid's been out that long.
Yeah, I met with her at the beginning of the month.
Yeah.
What kind of paint are they using?
It's a real good enamel outdoor paint that she's,
I met with her on the 4th of April.
Yeah.
And we picked a light gray, because if we're,
Okay, what kind of, I'm just interested in the paint.
I don't
What-
think it even said on that quote what type of paint it was.
yeah, it was an outdoor enamel.
Outdoor, yeah.
Mhm.
You know,
That's-
I'd like to have.
Weatherproof.
I'd like to have some specs on it, because some of that paint will start chalking real early, and we don't want the building to look like it's streaked.
Mhm.
So if she has a specific paint, she probably does, she just didn't put it down.
Mhm.
But if it's a Sherwin-Williams or a Pittsburgh or whatever, a certain one, then I'd like to look up the specs on it once. But,
yeah, because you can rub your hand on the building now.
you see, you know what I'm talking about,
Yeah,
yeah.
your hand.
So we don't, yeah.
And I think power washing will help that also. It'll take a lot of that off.
Well, I talked to Mark with
Red Gorilla. Mm-hmm.
And he said, because he's the one that rubbed that wall, he said when he's finished, you won't be able to do that.
Yeah.
That's what we
And then
need
that'll give it a good surface for the paint.
To bind.
to adhere to.
Yep.
Right.
And she's also going to trim the windows out with a different color. It's gonna look pretty when she gets done.
Do you want me to email her, or you two gonna, to get it? Because I think it just said outdoor weatherproof, it didn't have like
Yeah.
a brand.
No, I don't think it had a brand, and she's gonna do the handrails and the doors. Mm.
If she'd list the paints like the handrails, that's another little oddish type paint, but if you, just ask her what she's gonna use,
Okay.
and just, and she'll use probably a certain brand, but it'll be a certain type, and
And Molly, you can have her email me all that, and then I'll forward it on to the commissioners,
Okay.
so we can get that approved.
Is there anything else, Molly, that, I did get paper donated from Domtar.
I do need
Copy paper.
to get a back door, the very back door.
Is that facing the creek,
The woods, yes.
the woods? Okay.
It's in rough shape.
is it a metal door? So the frame's okay?
The frame is okay, I think I can get away with just a new door.
It's just
Is
rusted
that
is what it is.
something, oh, it's falling apart, the whole inside.
Yeah, I can,
And we had metal bars, with eye hooks, that's the lock,
Oh, in other words, it doesn't have a locking mechanism at all?
the metal bars.
Yeah, okay. So the panic hardware is
It-
missing
it
for that.
works.
So.
It works, but somebody, they really wanted to, they could, okay? So we need, my question is that something that I can measure and go to Menards and get?
No. If it's a metal door, what you're gonna have to do,
Thomas.
you probably, but you'll have to have an accurate measurement on the hinge locations. Because what you wanna do is be able to replace the existing door with another one without the need to have to tear that frame out of
Frame
that
out.
concrete block wall, and that really will get expensive. So they will make one, if it's not a standard door, to fit those hinges. And then we'll be able to put that, they just put it in a different hinge location, so.
I think
that's
those
what you
are
wanna do.
standard doors on that building.
I feel like they are, but I
Mhm.
haven't.
But they
taken a
change
tape
them, trust me.
Yeah.
Depending on when it was put in, then they change.
Okay.
They may move a hinge a half inch, and
Mm.
that doesn't work, so you'll have to get it exactly what that existing door is.
Then make sure you get one that has a panic bar on it, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
You need to be able to exit the building
Yeah.
running
Egress.
and get out,
Mhm.
so.
But Tony should be able to fix you up with that, because he's the one who did the door. Well, he wired it in, and then JSC done all the other work.
And I'm still trying to get bids in on getting the inside clean. That's been a task.
Did the power wash guy ever look at it?
He did, and he thought it's not really in their line of, their scope of work. He's more floors, and he thought it was block walls. So he thought he could come in there with a power washer and power spray it, and I'm like.
What about
So
Glenn's?
well, he's gonna talk to his brother.
Yeah, Glenn's.
He's gonna talk to Glenn, or Ike.
Mm-hmm. Then there's
So I'm
also.
waiting for a call back. That's, and I have a meeting with another company tomorrow, at 11:30. They're gonna come and look at it.
Yeah, Clem's in Hallsville has a cleaning service also.
Okay, and I had one company, they wanted, $500 just to come out and look.
Okay.
Right.
And
I said,
you
"Really?
did hang
Not
up,
for
didn't
yes?"
you?
He said, well, we'll apply it to your bill. And I said, okay, but what if I don't choose you to? And I said, okay, thank you. So that's what I'm running into.
Right.
is
Hmm.
These,
Most of your local people will come look at it and not charge that.
but I did buy a gallon of paint today. I am gonna get some paint on the wall in that lobby.
Okay.
If I just have to do it with a brush.
And Andrew is working on the sheets for liability.
I do need that because I've been asked,
For
people to come
volunteers.
and help
Yeah, for
volunteer.
volunteers and everybody, and for somebody to get hurt.
I have some parents that they have teenagers that want to come and help volunteer.
That's
And
great.
I want them to come and help volunteer, but I can't until I get.
Is there an age limit on your volunteers? Do they have to be 18 years old?
I think that's just as an employee, but it's a good question for the attorney.
Yeah.
You know, because they
Especially for
volunteer for all kinds of things the students in high school do, so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
I
sure.
was gonna let the students.
I think it'd be a good idea, but we'll check with
I mean,
him.
we're gonna take it case by case. You
Mhm.
know, I'm not gonna put a young child with.
Yeah.
You know, that kid that you walked. You know, we're not gonna do that, but, I mean, and he's a good boy, but he's very strong. And he does better on harness. So,
Is he still up there? That's too bad. Nice dog.
he is, it is too bad. That's all I have.
Okay.
Next thing we have on the list is the interlocal agreement for Troy and Cannleton, and I think Steve Hauser secured those. And what that amounts to is they pay I don't know what I call it, a stipend, but a portion towards the dispatch services. And Steve went out, convinced them they want to pay another year. So that's a good thing. I don't think we really need to take any action on that.
You just have to sign it. Or we just have, just let us know we have, yeah, just have to sign it. Yep.
Then the next item we have is a TIF3 bond advance.
I think that's the same way too. I don't think you guys really have anything. It's for the 2021. We still have allocated funds on that TIF bond 3. In the past, PCDC basically has taken care of getting all that work lined out, and they turn around and invoice us, which then we contact all our bond handlers and reimburse them. Going forward, that is not going to be the case. We will manage everything and basically cut that out.
It's for mitigation
Yeah.
on the Troy, and the Riverview project, what as far, it comes out of the bond proceeds.
Yes.
We've already approved that, so it's just a matter of.
Yeah, I
signing
just
it.
brought the paper for you guys to sign and.
The next item we have is transfer for the highway department. Steve has a list of things. This is in conjunction with the successful community crossings grant.
Which Steve did receive,
Yeah.
$1 million grant.
Yeah, I'm requesting your approval on 3 transfers. One from Stewart and Wheel for $100,000 from the bituminous into local road and bridge matching grant. I've got one from MVHR restricted, it's $1173 from bituminous, $200,000 into local road matching grant.
These are restricted, right?
This one is. Yes. Then I have a request from Lit, $307,000. That will make our match for the community crossings.
What's that, around 600,000?
It's gonna cost us $649,296.50 if everything comes in at the estimate cost, which it never does. Every year except last year, it's been below the estimate. So we try to get it where we can get as close to the million or all the million we can. I talked to the contractor this week and he said he expects the actual bids to be less than that because the oil had dropped some from when he gave me the estimate last year, so we won't know.
So where are you at on a mile of road this year? Do you have an idea? Because I know, I think it went from like 80,000 to 160,000, like.
Oh, this
it
is,
went.
the estimate was figured at 161,000 a mile.
Okay.
And he said the oil prices have went down some. He said I'd have to check to give you a dollar amount, but he said he thinks it'll be less, which it was every year except for last year.
And what happens to those excess funds, Steve, if we don't use them up? They go back to the state, or?
Yeah, we have to pay the state back. If we use less than our million, we have to pay back
Back to
their
the state.
percentage. Last year, the first year, we haven't had to pay him back. Like a year before, we had to pay 4,000 some back.
We don't want to pay any back.
No, we'd like to keep it all.
Yeah. That's kind of, we'd like to add a few more projects, but that's
Yeah.
not gonna work. But
Yeah.
then the match, then the county just saves that amount of the match then too,
Mhm.
if we send it back.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions? I'll take a motion to approve the transfer.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it. In favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. I have one other item. I'm not sure how to approach this, but we have a mobile home out on Coon Club Road.
Well, I had that, Becky said we hadn't added that to the agenda, and I'm
Okay.
glad you're here, so go into it, let's see where we're at.
Well, what my understanding was, it was reported to us a couple months ago. I checked with the attorney, and they said I called the health department. They said they would have to handle it, and I was told that they have sent them letters, but nothing has happened yet, so I don't know what the next step would be.
Kim actually went out there, Kim Robertson went out there, once or twice, and now she sent them letters, and there's been no response so far. These individuals lived in a box truck for 2 years or more, and now they've moved a trailer in that's probably how many feet off the road?
It's right along the edge of the
Right
road.
on the edge of the road, on the edge of the county road,
Yeah.
which the
I
county
would-
has 10-foot right-of-way, correct?
Well, it's different on each road. Most of them are 30 foot, which is 15 from the center. I don't remember what that one is. I could check.
But
I was
they,
worried about somebody hitting it and getting hurt. I
Yeah.
was told that, they put it there, so if somebody hits it, they're the ones that's responsible. But that's, we still want to avoid that happening.
well, and also there is no sewage,
That's what I was
Water.
told. There's no electric, water, or sewage
and
or anything there.
there's a creek behind it. Possibly we
And
could,
they're living there?
yes,
That's what I've been
we
told.
could possibly
yeah.
get the DNR involved in this too, if it's in a creek in the back.
Yeah.
And has anyone consulted the county attorney?
I talked to the attorney, well, I think it was when Chris was the attorney. I don't know if the health department has contacted our new attorney or not.
So we need to.
He's had letters sent to him, so I assumed that she had. He probably sent the letters.
Okay, I'll check with him,
Okay.
because he carbon copies me on this is the first I've heard of it, but
Okay.
we have zoning also, so there's got to be some violations
Yeah.
out there on that.
And it's, you think, is it kind of on, is it on the?
It's right next to the
It's
road.
right along, parked right along the edge of the road.
Okay.
And there have been complaints on it.
Yeah,
called
we've
in.
had various complaints in the past couple of months about it.
This is on Coon.
Coon Club Road. I guess, is that the name of the Coon, I always called it Coon
I
Club
got a
Road.
number on it.
It's, I think it's number 73, but that's not the new name, I don't believe.
Is that what the street sign says?
I'm not for sure.
Everybody
But
else
nobody
is
should
back.
have to see that. Nobody should be living that way, period. And,
I'll double check on that.
yes,
If it's on the county right of way, why can't the sheriff's department enforce it if they don't have license on it? If it's, it should be towed. I mean, if the vehicle or trailer's not licensed, it's sitting on the county right of way,
I think the deputies have been out there and checked on, according to, I didn't hear that from them, that's what I was told. That they went out there and tried to get them to move it.
Steve, you may want to give Alan's office a call
Yeah.
to
Well-
get that checked on.
What we need to do is get all these details put together. Seems like this has been something that's been going on for a while.
Yeah.
Find out what action each one of the entities has taken to see exactly where we are and then what our next step's gonna be.
Okay.
So that's what we have, because if the sheriff's deputy's been there and whatever that interaction, if Kim's been there, whatever that's been amounted to, you've been there and that, then we need to get the attorney involved with it and get it resolved.
Mhm.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
all right.
Then I see Miss Rita out here. What is your progress?
He's working on it, but I really would like to know what her complaint was from the health department, so what I can expect is gonna be staying and what's gonna leave.
This is on Chestnut Grove. Mhm.
The last letter that I received stated that he's working on it and he has covered the items that he intends to keep. Now, I drove past there and it had some blue tarps stretched over some of the merchandise and,
Merchandise?
yeah. So, I don't know what, because I know Andrew, our attorney, had reached out to her to see where the progress was in that process. But I haven't heard anything past that. That was last week, I think, when that letter came through.
Well, I mean, did the health department ever say what violations were gonna be corrected, or?
I never received the report. Apparently, there was one filled out, so I don't know what specific items she called out that were in violation. So I can't necessarily answer that. But I remember the discussion was that there was a report made. So that should be out there, the public record.
I can try to call Kim tomorrow and find out. I'll
And
call
get
her.
a copy of the report.
And get a
to
copy of
see
the
what it is,
report.
To see exactly
See what kind of violations that were on that.
Yeah, so I know what to expect and how
Mhm.
much he's gonna, I mean, he has cleaned it up some, but he's just putting things in
He's putting his
different places.
merchandise in different
Yeah,
places.
his merchandise.
Okay.
The mayor of Tell City approached me within the past week and suggested that he will get the city attorney involved and the county attorney involved because this is a zoning issue. Tell City claims the 2-mile radius, yet they won't enforce, because there's a zoning violation there with everything that's there. And he suggested that 2 attorneys get together and find out exactly what's going on, and either we'll take it back over and enforce our zoning regulations, or either they will enforce the ones they currently have in place. So, but the 2, I told him that's fine as long as we get this resolved, because we're in this area right now. If Tell City owns it and doesn't enforce it, the county can't enforce their zoning rules. So it kind of makes an area here that needs to, and it puts you right in the middle of the situation. And we need to get this resolved, whatever it is, because this will come up again. And if it's counties, and the county's responsible, then we'll enforce it. But hopefully that'll,
About the motorhome that's sitting there. Can it sit there forever, or?
is it on the county right away? I know at one time, it looked like he had moved it from the time I was
Yeah, I
out
don't
there.
think he can move it.
So you don't think it moved? So you think it's still right there on the, okay, I thought it slipped a little.
I think it's missing a tire even. I mean, I don't think it's possible to move. But I think he's got that filled up with merchandise too.
Steve, do you know how wide that county right of way is on that?
That's a 30-foot right of way, I believe it was. I went out there and measured it a few weeks ago. He had moved everything back off the right of way about that foot to 2 foot off the county right of way.
Okay.
Just enough to,
What about the
That's the old-
motorhome that's sitting there? Is it on county right of way?
No, it wasn't.
It was not on county right, okay. Okay.
So is that gonna stay there until it rots down to nothing too?
Well, see, there's your zoning issue about all the, everything that goes on there at the home, you know, it's, Tell City has specific rules against what he's doing in their zoning for an R1, which is residential 1. Now, the key to it is who's going to enforce the R1 regulations that are being violated? And that's our problem. Tell City has said they can't, and the county can't enforce another municipality's zoning rules. So somebody's gonna take responsibility here,
Mhm.
either the county or the city.
But shouldn't it have, I mean, it is a drivable motor home. Shouldn't it have a license on it to even be?
You could take your own car or whatever and not have a license on it, pull it on your property and let it sit. And then if he's off the county right away, that's in essence what he's done. Now, he's not required to license a vehicle that's not going out on public streets, so.
if he would just put it in front of a lot of that merchandise, it's covered up with those blue tarps.
But he needs a tire.
Oh, we gotta get him a tire. Okay.
No, we just need to clean it up.
Yeah, it does. It needs to be cleaned up.
Well,
I don't have anything else.
if we're good to go, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you for coming out this evening.
Rita, I will get with Kim, and then I'll let you know. I'll get with her tomorrow.
Yeah, I'd just like to know what
Yeah, where she's at, Chris.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Thank you, David, for staying.
It's on a slant.